Judicial District is again back on the record. The time is 8 minutes after 1 o'clock. Today's date continues to be Monday, March 24th, 2025. Again, we're in the middle of trial. Parties are present along with counsel. Jury is not present. We broke for lunch. We broke a little early based upon the state wishing to use a demonstrative exhibit in regard to the testimony of their witness. I believe it would be Sergeant Asham. Specifically geared toward her testimony that she had reviewed the 5 interviews with the defendant and found inconsistencies, and she wished to express those inconsistencies over the 5 interviews, and this exhibit would assist the jury in understanding and following along those inconsistencies. A couple of things. The defense objected. The rule being used by the state is 1006, having to do specifically with demonstrative exhibits. The underlying function of that is the fact that the evidence has already been supplied, is available, has been received to support that demonstrative exhibit. In this case, that is correct. All the interviews have been offered and received by the court. They are available. They will be available to the jury upon their deliberations. And the sergeant's testimony will be tedious, probably to say the least, and having an aid for the jury to review and follow along, in a sense, would be helpful. That's the basis for the state's position. It is my understanding that this aid, the demonstrative exhibit, will not be given to the jury in their deliberation, so it doesn't go beyond the use with the testimony of Sergeant Asham. Accordingly, it's not an exhibit that would be considered discoverable, in a sense, as to comply with my rule, going back about 3 weeks, my order, I should say, that there would be no additional discovery beyond that date. I think it was March 4th, is what I said. The underlying information, all of the interviews the defense has, they would be doing their own due diligence in reviewing all of those interviews for the same purpose with regard to consistencies and inconsistencies. The key to this entire question is going to be that the officer in her testimony would be speaking to the exhibit for the purpose of, this is what I found and why I found it. The court is going to overrule the objection by the defense with regard to this exhibit, and the state will be allowed to publish the exhibit for the purpose of soliciting the testimony of Sergeant Asham. It is my understanding that the exhibit would be put forth on the TV screen in front of the jury. I think the TV screen behind the witness, and then each counsel has a TV screen on their desk, on their table, so that should be appropriate. All right.
Thank you, Your Honor. We have actually been, during the noon hour, reviewing this, and I apologize for this. It might have cut off the court's decision with regards to this matter, but we'll actually not be offering or showing it at this point in time. I'll incorporate it into my closing.
All right. Then is there anything else before I bring in the jury?
No, Your Honor.
Mr. Sand, anything else before I bring in the jury?
No, sir, thank you.
All right. Bring in the jury. Can you stop, please?
I'm so sorry about that.
You can sit down, please, everyone. Thank you.
Yes, I'm sorry, Your Honor. It was just brought to my attention that Ms. Glinz had been issued a subpoena shortly after we returned from the lunch hour by the defense, even though she had been released from our subpoena, and she had been sitting here during Sergeant Asham's testimony.
Ms. Glenda, Brenda?
Yes, Brenda Glinz.
Brenda Glinz.
Yep, that's true, Your Honor. We just had well, she's back now. We just had a chance to talk to her. We served the subpoena just before Your Honor came in here. She had informed us that she was in here for Ms. Talbot's testimony, but she was not under subpoena at that time. She is again now for the defense, and so yes, I'm sorry.
For Ms. Sergeant Asham.
Yeah, I'm sorry, Your Honor.
That's all right, I got it.
And so she was not under subpoena at that time. She is now, and so I'm just trying to follow the state's sequestration order, so I let her know that.
Okay. Ms. Sorghum?
I just wanted the court to be aware of this, Your Honor. I don't know how this plays out with your sequestration order with regards to the fact she was not under subpoena. She's been here for the lion's share of Sergeant Asham's testimony.
Yeah, we're just getting to the good stuff is my assumption, so, okay. All right, then is it your position that she would be required to be out of the courtroom during the rest of the testimony?
If she's subject to a subpoena, yeah.
All right. Mr. Sands, your understanding?
Yep, that sounds right, Your Honor.
Okay. Ms. Glinz, you'll have to remove yourself from the courtroom. All right. Now, Ms. Sorghum, can I call in the jury?
Yes.
All right, please. All right, Ms. Sorghum, do you waive roll call of the jury?
State waives roll call, Your Honor.
Mr. Sand?
We do as well, Your Honor.
Thank you very much. We were in the middle of testimony for Sergeant Asham. Sergeant Asham is again on the stand. You may continue, Ms. Sorghum.
Thank you, Your Honor. Sergeant, before we broke, you were given copies of exhibits, correct?
Correct.
All right. And that would be specifically, just so we're reorienting ourselves, exhibits 13, 16, 17, 19, and 26, correct?
Correct.
All right. And those are the statements that the defendant has given to law enforcement over the years.
Correct.
All right. Now, you were telling us that you had created a timeline to help yourself orient yourself with regards to the inconsistencies in those statements. Is that right?
Correct.
Okay. Drawing your attention first to exhibits 16 and 17.
Those are back on the exhibit table. Could I get those again?
I'll grab them for you. Okay. Drawing your attention to exhibits 16 and 17, the statements that Ms. Rice gave to Detective Barnard on June 4th, 2007. Where did Ms. Rice say that she was during the time of the murder?
She said she was home on the family farm.
Okay. Did she give any specifics about that?
I believe through the course of the interview, she had told Detective Barnard that she came home from work late Friday night around 11 p.m. She went to bed, packed up her things, got up early Saturday morning, left to go to the farm. Said she hadn't really spoken to Anita in about 3 weeks. She stated that she heard Anita in her room playing music on Friday night. She thinks that someone may have come over during the night. She heard a male voice, but didn't know who it was.
And did she say what time she left the family farm?
She had stated that she arrived in, she didn't say what time she got to the farm, but I believe she said she left Minot around 8 or 7:30 a.m. on Saturday morning to go to the farm. And then she went to the farm, and then they spent Saturday at a going away party for her cousin. And then she came home Saturday and spent all day Sunday at the house with her little sister. And that was at the farm. And then she stated that she never went back to the apartment. She went straight to work on Monday afternoon.
Okay. Did she tell Detective Barnard how she and Anita got along?
She just said that their schedules didn't match, so they didn't see each other or communicate much leading up to the time of the homicide. She didn't really say anything about any conflict or anything like that.
Okay. Turning to Exhibit 13, the interview with Sergeant Goodman. Okay. What was the timeline that the defendant gave for herself during that interview 4 days later, or about a week later, sorry?
So once again, she had said that she had worked Friday night and she came home a little bit after 11, around 11:30 p.m. She mentioned that when she came home, she saw Anita at the fridge in the apartment. And then she again talked about packing up her things to get ready to go to the farm for the weekend. And then she went to her room and went to bed. Again, she had mentioned something about possibly somebody coming over in the middle of the night, maybe around 1 a.m. And then she had got up Saturday morning early and left and never saw Anita or spoke to her.
Okay. How did the June 11th interview differ from the June 4th?
Well, the first thing that was different was that she had, in the June 4th interview, she said she never saw Anita on Friday. And then on June 11th, she said she saw her in the kitchen of the apartment.
Okay.
So then she, again, talked about going to the farm. She left around a little bit later, about 8:30, got to the farm about 9:15, waited around for her family to be ready so they could travel to Carrington, is what she said in this instance. So they could go to this family party. She had mentioned specifically this time she thought she recognized the voice of the male that she heard on Friday night, but she didn't really hear what they were talking about.
Who did she think it was?
Michael Linrud?
Okay. Did the police investigate Michael Linrud?
Yes.
And what did they learn? What did Minot Police learn about him?
He was a friend of Anita's. They had spoken on the phone that night.
Okay. Please continue.
Again, she had said she never saw Anita when she left Saturday morning, never spoke to her at all. So she had to be on the road to get to the farms to be ready to leave to go to Carrington by 10. So she stopped at the gas station before she left Minot, went out there. The entire family was going to ride together to the party, but her and her little sister were fighting, so she decided to drive separately, and her cousin Alyssa rode with her.
Okay. Now, Sergeant Goodman testified that during this interview, the defendant was not honest with him.
Correct.
Were you able to determine by reading that transcript and reviewing that statement what he was referring to?
Yes.
And what was that specifically?
She had told initially Sergeant Goodman that they had gone to the party and came home later that evening, early evening, to the farm. And then she stayed at the farm all of Saturday evening. She watched movies with her mom and her little sister, and then she went to bed. It was later found out that she had been at the 41 Club in Russo on Saturday night with her cousin, and he brought that to her attention that she left that out.
Okay. And so how did that change her story?
Then she stated that she remembered she had gone to the bar, which was the 41 Club in Russo. It was owned by her cousin Alyssa and her boyfriend or fiance at the time. She stated she went there just briefly to take some CDs to Alyssa. And while she was there, she ate chicken strips and a Sprite. She stated at that point she was only at the bar for about 15 minutes, and then she went to Alyssa's house and watched a movie with Aunt Joyce.
Okay. What else was gleaned from that June 11th interview?
Aside from going to the bar, watching movies, she had stated that she went to the farm every weekend. She stayed there. She said Sunday morning she slept in until around 11, 10 o'clock, and then she went out and checked cows with her sister, and then she came back to the house where she beaded necklaces with her mother for 4 hours, and then just hung out at the house and went to bed, and then got up Monday morning. She said she slept until 11 Monday morning, and then she went straight to work in Minot.
Sergeant Asham, you've reviewed the June 4th and the June 11th transcripts. Is there any reference to the window screen in either of those transcripts?
No.
By either Nichole or the officers?
Correct.
Was there a reference to a bowl in the bathroom sink in either of those?
No.
Is there a reference to her iPod?
I'd have to double check. She may have talked about it with Detective Goodman,
Okay.
possibly being missing, but I have to look more closely at that.
I'm going to draw your attention instead. We're going to move on to Exhibit 19. Statement, the transcript of her interview with Special Agent Meixner on May 6, 2010. What do we learn from this interview?
The beginning portion, she doesn't really talk about Friday night at all. She again talks about getting up Saturday morning, going to the farm. A little bit about drinking.
Now, you were present for William May and Christina Holler's testimony, correct?
Yes.
Okay. And what was the time frame upon which they said that they made their reports to the Minot Police Department?
In 2008.
And this interview with Agent Meixner was what year again?
2010.
Okay. Surrounding the conversation.
Objection, Your Honor. I don't believe there was an interview with Miss Rice and Miss Meixner that they're referring to.
The transcripts and evidence.
If I'm following correctly, Counsel, it was May 6th of 2010.
Okay.
The interview with this Officer Meixner.
Okay.
Yes.
Exhibit 19. So the question again, Ms. Sorgan.
Thank you, Your Honor. Sergeant, with regards to that section that you just referenced where she was talking about drinking, what was that conversation?
She made a comment that people tend to babble and talk too much when they're drinking, which is why she no longer drinks.
Had she and Agent Meixner been talking about drinking prior to that point?
No.
Was there any question posed to her about anyone making a drunken statement?
No.
Did the defendant talk about her relationship with Anita during that conversation?
I'd have to double check that. In most conversations that she had with investigators, she talked about how they were best friends. She saw herself as Anita's protector, bodyguard. Anytime an investigator brought up information that they had received about them fighting or arguing, she downplayed it.
Okay. Specifically fighting about what?
The alarm clock, the fish tank. Primarily, those were the issues that came up.
Okay. And when you say she downplayed it, what do you mean?
She would just say things like, oh, we have typical little roommate disagreements, nothing major.
Okay. Permission to approach, Your Honor?
You may.
Sergeant, I'm going to show you what's been received into evidence. It states Exhibits 12A through O. And Sergeant Goodman has already established that those were text messages sent from the defendant to Anita. What are the dates of those text messages?
April 21st of 2007.
Okay. So approximately 2 months before Anita died, correct?
Correct.
Okay. What do those text messages say?
Would you like me to read them?
Yes,
Or just-
please.
So this message says, okay, so next time you leave and don't plan on coming back in the morning and lock your door because God knows I'm dying to get in there, shut the fucking alarm off so I don't have to listen to it all morning when I can be sleeping. And just for the heads up, my dad and I are going to talk to the landlord ASAP and see what we can do, because honestly, I have no idea what I did to make you, what I did to you to make you all of a sudden be all weird on me, but I'm gonna tell you right now, I sure as hell ain't going to put up with it till December. Well, and that's abbreviated, Dece. This sucks, and I may sound like a bitch. But what goes around comes around. I have tried the being nice strategy, and that just obviously didn't get the point across. Really, there isn't anything to talk about. I was just letting you know, the 411. I am trying to sleep, in all caps, and ignore this alarm. Things shouldn't have gotten like this in the first place. I didn't do shit to deserve it, but whatever. I am done discussing this. Oh, and by the way, I really... That's, that one cuts off there. I think that's supposed to be realized. The next message says, are you going to move out or am I, if we can get out of this lease if one of us leaves? This is causing me problems with my family because my stress level is very high on this subject. Seriously, what died I do to you? I ain't ever home. You pretty much have the effing place to yourself, for Christ's sake.
Sergeant, was it your understanding from the investigation that the alarm clock issue was limited to just April?
Yes,
Okay, was just in April.
I only heard of the one incident.
All right. Based on this, based on the investigation, did the hostilities cease because of the alarm clock issue?
No,
Okay. And what was your understanding of the nature of the hostilities?
they just weren't getting along. They weren't good roommates. One liked to be clean, one was messy. Anita felt uncomfortable when Nichole would bring people over to the apartment, and then she would leave to go to work and leave the people there with her that she didn't know.
Okay. Sergeant, drawing your attention to your interview with the defendant on March 12th of 2022. Were there also inconsistencies in her timeline in that interview?
Yes.
Okay. And how did that interview differ from the prior interviews?
In this particular interview, she left out anything about watching movies at her aunt's house. Again, she had said a slightly different version of what she did on Sunday. She didn't talk anything about beating necklaces. I think this may be the one where she talked about going to shoot gophers on Sunday instead of checking cows or beating. She couldn't remember at this juncture if it had been Friday night or Saturday morning that she had gone back to the farm. And she had gone to the bar in Russo, and she had stayed until 11 or 12 p.m. and then got back to the farm. And then she went to sleep on the couch.
Okay. During the course of these interviews, did the defendant offer any of her theories as to who might have hurt Anita?
She did, I think, when she spoke to Detective Goodman. And then I think, if I remember correctly, she may have offered one when I spoke to her as well.
Okay. Did she identify the same person in all of these interviews?
No.
Okay. In the very first interview that she gave with Detective Barnard, did she identify anybody that she thought could have done this?
No.
Okay. Anybody who was mad at Anita?
No.
Okay. In the interview with Sergeant Goodman, Exhibit 13, could she identify anybody particular that she thinks would have done this?
I believe that was the interview where she said Nathan Tickerhof was a possible suspect.
Okay. And did the police investigate Nathan Tickerhof?
Yes.
And what did the police determine about that?
He had no involvement.
How about her interview with Special Agent Meixner? Who did she identify in that one?
Mm-hmm. I'm not entirely sure. Like I said, I apologize. It's tough to keep them all straight.
Fair to say, different stories, correct?
Yeah.
Objection, Your Honor, she's testifying.
Sustained.
In the interview with Agent Meixner, was she able to identify anybody that was particularly mad at Anita?
No.
How'd she refer to herself as in reference to Anita?
Her bodyguard.
She'd call herself Anita's bodyguard.
Yes.
Did she ever mention Marty and Nell during that interview?
I know she mentioned Marty and Ellen in one of the interviews.
What did she mention with regards to Marty?
I believe she said that people are saying it was probably him.
Okay. And did she keep with that theory?
I don't believe she had one opinion one way or the other.
Was there a point where she was talking about Marty having committed suicide?
I'm not sure.
Okay. Your Honor, if I could approach, got the copy of the
You may.
statements up there. Your Honor, I'm just trying to find the location of this section. Nichole make any specific comments with regards to how she felt about Anita during this interview?
Yes.
What'd she say?
She said, I loved her. She was my best friend. She meant the world to me. And honest to God, I looked up to her like, oh my gosh, I wish I could be like her.
Sergeant, you were present for Matthew Hansen's testimony, and you were also present, you also read through that information in the investigation, correct?
Correct.
Okay. Did it come to your attention during the investigation that the defendant had moved to New Mexico?
Yes.
Okay. When did that happen?
New Mexico happened in 2008.
Okay. Did she move someplace else before that?
She moved to Arizona.
Okay. When did that happen?
2007.
And in relation to when Anita died, how soon after that did she move to Arizona?
It's believed to be immediately following, within a month or two.
Okay. And approximately when did she come back from Arizona?
I believe she was only in Arizona for a few months. She came back in the fall of 2008.
Okay. And then she relocated to New Mexico in 2008?
Excuse me, I misspoke. She came back from Arizona in the fall of 2007, and then she went to New Mexico in 2008.
And were you able to determine when she came back from New Mexico?
In July of 2008.
Now, there was a work trip that she had won. Is that right?
Yes.
All right. When was that trip supposed to be?
I don't know if there's a specific date for that trip.
Okay. Do you know if she did go on that trip?
By all accounts, she did not.
Okay. And why was that?
She left the job and she left the state.
And you're aware of the statements that she made to Brenda Glinz in July of 2008?
Correct.
Okay. How does that match up with the statements that she gave to law enforcement as far as her timeline is concerned?
I don't believe she ever told law enforcement that she left the state, that she had moved to Arizona or New Mexico. The statements that she made to Brenda were something completely different than what she had told law enforcement.
Okay. Sergeant, I'm just going to hand you Exhibit 18. What's been received into evidence is Exhibit 18, and then sit down for a second. States 18, which has been received into evidence, we've established was a phone bill for Nichole, correct?
Correct.
All right. You analyzed that, is that right?
Yes.
All right. What did you find with regards to that phone bill and her timeline as she's provided it to law enforcement over the years?
It's inconsistent with the times that she was giving as far as when she was awake and when she was sleeping that weekend. There's call activity and data transmission activity during the times that she said she was asleep or before she woke up.
Okay. And when you say call activity, specifically what are you referring to?
Phone calls. She was speaking with a gentleman in Michigan by the name of Ryan Martin. That's her most frequent call activity. She spoke to him quite a lot.
And was Minot PD able to confirm whether or not it was actually her having phone calls with him?
I know they had a agency in Michigan conduct a courtesy interview with Ryan Martin, who confirmed that he had spoken with her.
Okay. Sergeant, what's a call for service?
Call for service is any time that someone contacts dispatch and an incident is created that an officer is dispatched to.
Have you had an opportunity to look back through calls for service with regards to Anita Knutson?
Yes.
Okay. Aside from the incident involving her death, were there any calls for service that you're aware of?
None.
You're aware of the issues that Detective Barnard testified to and Matt Hansen testified to about getting defendant to come to the crime scene on June 4th, correct?
Correct.
Okay. Specifically, Matt Hansen's testimony about, it's just my roommate, I'm not dealing with it.
Correct.
Okay. Did that strike you as odd when you reviewed that information?
Yes.
Why?
It's not normal behavior. If someone called me and said the police need you to come home, I would have questions and I would immediately go home.
Okay. And again, no calls for service with regards to Anita.
Correct.
So is it fair to say that that would be an unusual circumstance to get a call about her?
Yes.
Sergeant, you have lived in Minot for how long?
I went to college there and then I left briefly and returned in 2000 and have been there since.
Okay. You're familiar with the surrounding area, correct?
Yes.
Okay, including Velva.
Yes.
All right. Are you familiar with the distance from Minot to the defendant's father's farm?
Yes.
Okay. And how long is that?
It's about a 43-minute drive, plus or minus 5 minutes, given depending on weather and traffic.
Okay. And how recently have you taken that drive?
Just a couple of days ago, I took the drive.
Okay. So that would have been winter, right?
Yes.
How long would that drive typically take in the summer?
Probably 40 minutes.
Now, Detective, with regards to the statements that we heard of information that were provided by Ms. Rice to her aunt, Brenda, you testified earlier about police holdbacks in an investigation. Were you able to identify holdback information in that testimony?
Yes.
What specifically?
That the screen had been cut, that there had been a bowl of water in the bathroom sink, and that the victim was wearing a bathrobe and laying on her bed.
Okay. All of that information was police holdback?
As far as I'm aware, yes.
Okay. And you've reviewed these statements and transcripts of interviews with the defendant. Was there any mention of those items?
No.
Okay. By law enforcement?
Correct.
Okay. I have nothing further for the sergeant, Your Honor.
Mr. Sand, do you have any cross-examination?
Your Honor, I have quite an extensive cross-examination. I'm wondering if there's any chance we could take a couple of minute bathroom break before I begin.
Okay.
Thank you.
Seems a little quick, but the jury loved me for saying this, so we'll do it again. We're going to take a short recess. Please do not converse with any witnesses, any party, or any attorney in this case concerning any matter.